in the parables of the wheat and the chaff. He told us in Daniel, in chapter 2, verse 43, that the clay would mix with iron, would mix with clay, and not cleave together. And so it's really not too far-fetched, folks. I know a lot of you can't get past the apple and the tree and the symbolisms that were used. And I already have articles on this, on the Illuminati and the sons of Cain, and how they used all this figurative language to mask the real event that took place in the Garden of Eden, which was a seduction, a physical and sexual seduction of Eve and Satan. And they produced Cain. And so Cain is their son. And throughout the centuries, Cain has had his own seed line. Even the Illuminists, the Freemasons, will refer to themselves as the sons of Cain. And this is literal. Even in the New Testament, with the different apostles and talking about Satan and his seed. And they're talking about a literal offspring, folks. I know that you can read it a million times and never see it with your eyes until you realize that when they do talk about your father, the literal father is the father of lies, and that Satan's seed, his offspring, were where these Pharisees and scribes had come from that Israel had allowed to take over them and control them. And it just goes on for centuries. And they've taken great pains to hide us. This was nothing new when Jesus walked the earth, Yeshua walked the earth. They were all very familiar with the fact that Satan had a physical offspring on the earth. And it's just in our time, in the last 2,000 years or whatever, after the Christian persecutions, after the Lord arose, that they have tried to stomp out a lot of the truths that the early believers had at those times, and have kept us in the dark for 2,000 years, wondering what these truths were. And the Lord will reveal to them, as you ask Him for the truth in all things, He will lead you to these truths. And so what we're seeing, folks, is that the worship of Nimrod and Semiramis is the origin, the beginning of all the pagan religions on earth. A good book to read, Alexander Hyslop, The Two Babylons, where he talks about a lot of this. It wasn't too long ago, I was sitting outside, and just before I was leaving for my trip, and the Lord had asked me, "So are you sick of religion yet?" And I just laughed, because He knows I am. And He revealed to me that this whole Madonna and child thing was even Cain. It had nothing to do with Mary and Jesus. But that it goes back to Eve and Cain. And what they do is they try to take it back, all these ancient religions, to Nimrod and Semiramis, and they stop there. They say, oh, okay, Nimrod was the first god king, the first Antichrist on earth, and his wife Semiramis, which was elevated to a position of worship, and they had a child, and allegedly they had a child after Nimrod had become possessed by the devil, because at some point in Nimrod's life, back when he was putting on the stolen fleece of Adam and Eve, was this ram's wool, and getting supernatural strength from that. Somewhere in all that, he became possessed by Satan. And it was while he was possessed by Satan that he had fathered this child that they call Tammuz. And a lot of people have different names for him. Call him Malek is another name. And Baal and Marduk were other names for Nimrod. And so, you're going to think, why aren't these just legends? This is all just a bunch of hype. No, these are real. The Latin word for fiction or mythology is history. This is one thing that, because we tend to sweep all this stuff under the rug because we think, oh, it's just a bunch of hogwash. Well, it is hogwash. But it actually did stem from real events, is what I'm saying. And these are actually people that were elevated to a position of worship. Every religion and countries giving them different names. Some people calling her Semiramis, some nations calling her that. Other ones calling her Iris or Ishtar. And other names coming out for Nimrod were Baal and Marduk. And so all this worship, all these pagan false worship systems coming up over the years in religions stemming from these two. And we have it today in our own religions with our own Catholicism that wants everybody to believe that they have the Madonna and Child, the Virgin Mary, and Jesus. And it's not that at all, folks. They've got it right there in your face. They're actually worshiping Eve and Cain. And I've often said on this show that one of the biggest blasphemies is to walk into Protestant churches and they have pictures of Satan, the Sananda, all over them and telling people, oh, this is Jesus, when it's Satan. And so, sooner or later we're just going to see the whole house of cards tumble because nothing they do anymore is going to be secret. We all know exactly what they're doing and where their origins are coming from and why they've kept things hidden over the years, so they keep people in the dark so that when they come in the last days to revive all this ancient pagan stuff, we're way ahead of them. And that's the way it's going to be. I mean, they are going to get their people to fool. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be more people that fall and believe in the deceptions and lies coming than the ones who don't. In the New Age, Madame Blavatsky and Alice Bailey had said that the Satanic Trinity coming would be Senat Kumara, Maitreya, and Lucifer. Senat Kumara, and I have his mugs on my website at thewatcherfiles.com, also at SherryTalkRadio, is God in his highest form. This Maitreya, and then this Lucifer would be God in his lowest form. I don't know how they come up with that. The Bible says the coming beasts are going to be the Antichrist and the false prophet, empowered by Satan. And others believe that this Maitreya, Sananda, and Mary Eve will come. And all of these three folks are viable translations of what's to come. You know me, I never stick to one route, because Satan isn't. He has various roads he can come to power. And so I think it's important to be aware of all of them. I think that the biblical translation of the Antichrist and false prophet, we know that one that's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be two male beasts because the angels take them by chains and cast them into the lake of fire, and Satan is cast into the abyss for 1,000 years. So Satan himself, although he empowers the Antichrist and the false prophet, he is not physically one of these positions. And if you look at Maitreya, who I believe is Cain, and the reason why they're just so furious, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. I know I ended the show with it last week. I believe that this Maitreya will become the Antichrist, and that Jesus will be the false prophet. And it's this Jesus Sananda that's coming that will swing everybody over to worship Maitreya as God. And so there was something amusing that I saw on the Share International website. And it was, okay. And the question, there's a fact question on the Share International website. And it says, what has Maitreya told you about his physical immortality? I mean, he seems to have lived in the Himalayas for a long time. Maitreya claims he's lived in the Himalayas for the last 2,000 years in a body of light that is resurrected and ascended by